Good evening. Chris Lee with Jay Greeson here to react to the Music City Bowl. Illinois has defeated Tennessee 30-28 on a last-second field goal on a chilly evening in Nashville. Of course, Southeastern 16 presented by FanDuel. Jay Greeson, interesting, exciting game in the Music City Bowl. Once again, another one that did not go the SEC's way. What's your thoughts on what you saw?
Lot of thoughts. I actually enjoyed this game watching start to finish because it felt like both teams were engaged. And that's a testament to both head coaches. I mean, opt-outs, motivation, all the things we talk about in the modern era of bowl games, both of these teams, it felt like two heavy-set dudes were fighting for a meatball sub at midfield after the game was over. I mean, this was a good football game. It was a good football game. And I think in a lot of ways, Tennessee's vacancies hurt them more than Illinois' did. And that was my takeaway. It was a coin flip game. FanDuel had it a coin flip game. It was right at a field goal game. And in a lot of ways, that probably was in the algorithm. And it came across from the TV screen, at least, that it was kind of a Tennessee home game in Nashville in the Music City Bowl. So, it was a good football game.
I think the thing that surprised me was Tennessee's offense. And look, there's opt-outs in every bowl game, right? I get it. And I know that Tennessee's got Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley that they had probably the best wide receiver trio in the league this year. But the number one guy in that trio was not there tonight, Chris Brazzell Jr., who's preparing for the NFL draft. And Tennessee's longest passing play downfield tonight, Jay, 18 yards. I don't have the research in front of me, but I bet you there's a 98% chance if I look that up. I bet you Tennessee had every game this year where they had at least one pass play longer than 19 and probably two or more every game.
Yeah. And there was a moment in the broadcast that they talked about whether Joey Aguilar would have made a couple of throws to a guy he trusted like Chris Braswell and maybe didn't have that connection with some of his replacements. I don't know, man. And this was a really good football game. I mean, I know we want to get into what this means big picture for Tennessee, but I'm really not trying to overread into this. I thought the defense played well in a majority of spots, but you're pulling the plug on Tim Banks and got an interim guy and replacing him with a guy you believe is worth multi-million-dollars a year to coordinate your defense.
Well, it was a little bit like what we'd seen from Tennessee all year. Like their defense statistically was not very good, but what it did was it made big plays at the right time. A lot of times it was turnovers, pick sixes, that kind of thing. No turnovers tonight, but two big fourth down stops. So they got some of that, but the problem was the offense just wasn't as good as it had been. And then, the Max Gilbert issue popped up again too.
Well, and that's fair. I mean, I saw somebody threw in the chat that Max Gilbert cost. Look, man, there is no more lonely place in sports than being a field goal kicker. And I'm even talking about trying to putt for majors, because if you're putting for a major championship in golf, you're doing it for yourself. If you're kicking in meaningful moments for a football team, You're doing it for whether it's in college, 85 scholarship dudes, or in the NFL, 53 roster spot dudes that are sacrificing their life. I mean, honestly, they are giving up years off their life. It has been proven by science for you to go make a kick. So, and Tennessee kicking has cost them multiple times in multiple meaningful moments. So, pardon my alliteration there, but it is what a frustrating time, but also a meaningful moment moving forward time, because we're a handful of years away from the Jeremy Pruitt era, where if you were disappointed with 8-5 with Jeremy Pruitt, then you couldn't imagine that.
Yeah.
That's what Josh Heupel's done.
Yeah, I was going to say, did Pruitt even get to 8 wins? But
no, God, no, he didn't.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't remember it, but I think the thing tonight, really, Jay, it was the offense, because you scored 28 points, but you gave up 7 with your offense on the field with the Aguilar fumble that got returned for a score, and you also scored a kickoff return touchdown from a guy that I didn't know existed until tonight. So your offense really was only net plus 14 when it was on the field. Look, there were other issues, but to me, that was the bottom line tonight.
Yeah, and that's fair, Chris. That's completely fair. And I know we all missed the pinwheel of SEC pennants behind you, but we need to tell everybody you are en route to cover Vandy tomorrow in their bowl game. Look, I understand the disappointment, but all things considered, considering the turmoil Tennessee absorbed all the way back to the Nico thing, and they turned Joey Aguilar into a guy who is, I mean, could he be an NFL backup somewhere? I don't know. He was the guy who was going to be a firefighter 4 years ago. So, look, I know 8-5 is not acceptable to programs like Tennessee, like Auburn, like anybody else whose main rivals are Alabama and Georgia, and they're playing for national championships every year. That is the prism they live in. And that is fair, and it is the standard that the fan base, the hierarchy, and the leadership should uphold. But when you look at all of the things that conversed on Tennessee football this year, I mean, dear Lord, man, if they don't let Georgia complete a 4th and 18 pass to who's his britches in the corner of the end zone, they're a playoff team. I mean, yes, if and nuts, candies and butts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. But this was a year of almost. In a million years in the conversation, I do not, in my 3 decades of covering college sports, if Josh Heupel's on the hot seat, Tennessee's not doing this right.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic to me because I've trusted Josh Heupel. I felt like he's the right guy for the job, but Tennessee's a place, and this is the case in most of the SEC and really big time college football. And then, so I'm not going to single out Tennessee here because look at Penn State. You know, look how fast it fell apart for for James Franklin, fired months after being one of the last 4 teams standing. You look at Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, who didn't do a terrible job, but not the job that they hired him for. And I still remember the situation Tennessee was in with Jeremy Pruitt. It was not a good situation. I think Josh Heupel brought winning, and he brought excitement quickly. And look, this all felt like, I know that there was a lot of excitement in Knoxville because they felt the defense was going to be really good and carry them. And I think that the way Joey Aguilar performed early, that answered a lot of questions about the offense. But it's not a place where people are super happy about things tonight. I see the stuff in the chat. I'm seeing the texts I'm getting from friends. The talk has been that Josh Heupel has peaked. That's not an endorsement on my part. I'm just telling you that's a little bit of perception. You got a little bit of an issue with an athletic director who is, I thought a year ago, Danny White might be doing the best job of anybody in the country. That has soured pretty quickly since he lost Tony Vitello, with who he did not have a great relationship. Now, Tony Vitello, not the easiest guy to get along with, so I'm not throwing blame one place or the other there. But I'm telling you, there is a little bit of a perception issue right now. Look, I think that Tennessee is in pretty good shape from my point of view. I think Heupel's always been able to coach offense. They just put a lot of resources into the defense, but they've also spent a lot of money, Jay, and ticket prices have gone up. Again, not Josh Heupel's fault necessarily. It's the cost of doing business. But the way that they ended the season, losing that way to Vanderbilt and now losing this game, albeit on the last play, fan base has gotten a little grumpy, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah. And yes, grumpy is a great word. And
probably kinder than yeah.
No,
that's probably one way to put it. It's pissed. Yeah, that was a nice way to say it.
Yeah, and I get it. I really do, but some of that perception goes into what you said about Tennessee raising their prices and adding on NIL tax to ticket holders and all the things that go into it. So now your fans are expecting better, and as well they should. Tennessee is a perennially proud program, as well it should be with its resume. But where you came from, Jeremy Pruitt, one bad year and 8-5, when you are 1 or 2 missed kicks away from being another playoff year. I mean, be very careful jumping in the hot seat conversation.
They won a close game with Arkansas, won a close game with Mississippi State. I think they probably end up what they needed to be, but it's not what that fan base has come to expect. And as Sam said, the price tag is the issue.
Yes,
tickets there are very expensive.
Very expensive. And that's the modern era of where we are in college sports. That is going to be what are we paying for? Not what we're rooting for. What are we paying for? And that conversation is real and going to be impactful. But
yeah,
the truth of it is, if you have a better field goal kicker, a more reliable field goal kicker, we're not having this conversation. Because then Tennessee makes back-to-back playoff appearances. And
if you have healthy corners, it may look different too.
Well, injuries are part of football, man. I'm not gonna. That happens. That happens.
They are, but losing, a top 2 or 3 corner in the country is There's a bullet next to that one.
There are. I mean,
anyway, yeah.
But
well, none of this matters. I mean, the season's over, and I think to me, it's what do you think of the future of the program? We can sit here and argue why they lost, kickers, injuries, all those things. But to me, the question is, where do you think the program is headed? I'm not pessimistic on Tennessee football. I think it had one of the younger rosters in the country. Most places, when you have that kind of situation and you run it back the next year with a lot of the same guys, which we'll see if that happens, it goes a lot differently. Again, you've got a guy that knows how to coach offense. You've got a new reset on defense. To me, there's more reasons to be optimistic than pessimistic, but I'm not emotionally invested in it like the people that are paying 5 figures a year to be that. So that's how much does my opinion matter? Probably not any.
Well, very well said and very fair. But I will say this. You're hiring a defensive coordinator, you're paying millions of dollars, who 2 years ago overhauled Ohio State to help them win a national championship. He was the most coveted defensive coordinator in the country after leaving Ohio State. Penn State was a debacle. So bring him in, let him do what he wants to do. And I will say this, and I said this in April when we were discussing this. No matter how Tennessee's season ends, we can't overstate. We cannot overstate the impact of the Nico Amaliava divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Josh Heupel turned Joey Aguilar, who was an afterthought quarterback that nobody really wanted, into a guy who threw for 3,000 yards playing an SEC schedule. I mean, he turns, look for Heupel to make a splash in the portal. Look for Heupel to spend a crap ton of money in the portal. Why wouldn't Cam Coleman want to go there and be the next Chris Braswell? Why wouldn't, look, if this is a make or break year that a whole lot of Tennessee fans in our chat are saying for Josh Heupel, why is he not going to then push his chips into the portal and go get some dudes?
Gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna give you a second to think about it. Are you more bullish on Tennessee football after this year, less bullish, just the same? Where do you think this is headed? Before we go there, just a quick reminder, we're brought to you by Yearly Company. Do not have the read in front of me, but hey, those folks, if you're looking for something nice for your wife, your girlfriend, fiance, go to Yearly Company, enter code SE16 kit, get 100% off your sizing kit so you can get your jewelry from the Yearly Company, make great bangles and other products. Important to get the right size. Use that promo code. Also, ROKFORM sponsors our show, ROKFORM.com. They make the world's strongest magnetic phone cases. I've got one. They are amazing. Get that in the vent clip for your car, and you will thank me for that later. Promo code for that would be SE25. Get you 25% off your entire order at ROKFORM.com. SE16 gets you 25% off your entire order. Again, swear by the phone case and the vent clip. All right, Jay, the question I asked you a minute ago. Bullish on Tennessee? As bullish as you were before the season? Has your feeling changed? What do you think here?
My feeling hasn't changed because I believe in Josh Heupel. I really do. I mean, I think he's good at this. So you go from a playoff run and it ended poorly, and you lose a handful of heartbreaking games after you lose the quarterback you were building this around. I mean, I can assure you I'm not a Tennessee apologist, but how many teams would line up to hire Josh Heupel if Tennessee decided tomorrow they were going to break away?
Yeah, that's the same place I am too. I'm not a guy that just thinks coaches go from knowing what they're doing to becoming idiots overnight. I'm slow to change my opinion on coaches, especially ones who have racked up a pretty good track record of wins. That's what Josh Heupel's done. They've made some pivots. Again, I'm interested to see what they do with an older team next year. I think they will get older one way or the other, whether through the portal or guys coming back and developing another year. You saw a guy tonight that we hadn't heard of all year. Nice recruit for them out of Memphis. Made a nice kickoff return to put Tennessee ahead and give them a chance to win the game at the last. Tennessee's got athletes like that. I think we'll see them on the field next year. I'm not in a state of panic about Tennessee football. I know a lot of people are. I kind of get why, but I don't see it that way. Now, we've been getting some stuff in the chat about the SEC's performance in bowls, which, to be honest, hasn't been great so far. Here's your rundown. Alabama and Oklahoma played, of course, in the first round of the playoff. Alabama won that one. A&M lost to Miami, so that's 1-2 as a league. Ole Miss beat Tulane, that's 2-2. LSU lost to Houston, not a shock. That made them 2-3. Missouri losing to Virginia made the league 2-4. Now 2-5 after tonight's game. Now look, all the losses, one-score games.
All right, hey,
we know the bowl environment is not what it used to be.
We're after hours, right? Bullshit.
Yeah, but
you people throwing this out there, that is bullshit. That is complete and total crap. I mean, all right, look, the SEC has more talent than every other league for the last dozen times 10 NFL drafts or whatever it is. All these kids opt out to go to the draft. And this is even before the portal era. And then you talk about motivation and whatever else. This bowl records are shit. A complete and total conversation. So bang your chest, Big Ten, because Illinois was motivated or whatever else you want to put into it. I mean, dear God, you're now turning me into a place that I'm an Auburn graduate and I'm rooting for Alabama to kick the living snot out of Indiana tomorrow night. So, no, this is crap. You can't view it through multiple prisms. You guys are full of snot.
Yeah, look, it is what it is. Everybody knows bowl games are not what they used to be. I get it. Has the SEC lost its place as the dominant conference in the country? That came up earlier in the chat. Look, it's undeniable that the top of the Big Ten right now has got it up on the SEC. I get that. You know, with Ohio State and Michigan winning the last two natties, with Alabama and Georgia looking a lot more mortal the last couple of years, with Florida being a team that won, 4 games and fired a coach, with LSU not getting there under Brian Kelly. Like, your teams that have been national powers are not what they've been. The Big Ten has taken that spot at the top right now. And in my opinion, probably is going to take home a third one. My guess is either Ohio State or Indiana gets it. Oregon could too. Who knows? So I'm willing to concede that for now. Maybe we'll look up a few weeks from now and Georgia's won it or Alabama's won it. And maybe the narrative looks different. But it feels to me like right now the top of the Big Ten is better than the top of the SEC. You know what? I will maintain. I think, 4-16, you start stacking up the SEC with the rest of the country, and I think the SEC wins, and it's no contest. How much is that worth? I think it's worth something. It's not everything. People look at the top first, and I get it. But I don't think the SEC is just taking this horrible tumble and sucks at football now, the way a lot of people who hate the league would like you to believe. I just don't buy that.
All right. I'll go you a step further. SEC, way better, way more talented. Okay, maybe let me throw this out there. The top 2 or 3 teams in the Big Ten get to be the top 2 or 3 because they get to play 9 easy conference games.
Yep.
This narrative is going to change when the SEC is forced to play 9 conference games next year, and every game's going to be difficult. Every single game. You don't get Northwestern. You don't get any number of – you don't get Michigan State, who couldn't beat their own meat at a porn movie. I mean, dear Lord, man, the bottom half of the big Nebraska is a clown show. You don't get the bottom half of that. For God's sakes, the bottom half of the SEC forever was Vandy, and they're going to win their 11th game.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing that Big Ten. Your Vanderbilts, your South Carolina's not a good example this year. Those teams, like I would much rather face a Michigan State and Northwestern. Those teams. It's the cumulative effect of having to play those games. It's the fact that those teams can jump up and beat you. And again, I will concede that Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon right now are better than the best the SEC's got, in my opinion. Feels that way. Maybe we get to the playoff and play it out, and Alabama or Georgia comes out ahead and looks differently. Feels to me like on paper, the Big Ten has probably got 3 of the 4 best teams in the country, or at least 3 of the best 5. I will concede that. What you guys play week in and week out, from about 5 or 6 down, does not compare to what you see in the SEC week to week. It just doesn't. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't. And
by the way, that's why Florida goes 4-8 on occasion. That's why LSU goes 8-4, and it's disappointing. You put those teams in the Big Ten, they're going 10-2. It just looks differently. It's not the same. It's the week to week grind. It's the physical beating you take. It's all those things.
Well, it is all that. And Moogloss Ribs, you know what, brother? If you want to see me in a dark alley, then show up, bitch. But it is what it is. And I'm happy to have a conversation through the comments. I'm happy to have a conversation about football. I'm happy to have a conversation about anything that matters. But I think Alabama's going to beat Indiana. Look, this is the league that spends more, it recruits better, it participates and produces more NFL players than every league every year, period. So the conversation is, to me, null and void. I don't even really, I mean, it's hard for me to fathom people who think the Big Ten's better than the SEC.
When you play all these games, there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. When Georgia and Alabama play twice, somebody's going to get 2 losses. You just don't go up in the Big Ten. You get 2 of those kind of games a year in the Big Ten, and that's it. Okay. But anyway, it is what it is. Look, there's no doubt in my mind. The SEC, the top has come back to the rest of the pack. But that is college football. That is the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future.
Forever.
Well, yeah, I don't think we see.
No,
we're not going to see
more
Nick
and they
Saban.
care more. I mean, period,
Right.
Chris. I mean, they spend more, they care more. forget it means more, and whatever Greg Sankey slogan they want to use, they spend more and they care more. Period.
Yeah. Parting thoughts before we end this, Jay Greeson.
I'm excited to see how the playoffs tumble down. I am greatly intrigued to see how Vandy shows up tomorrow, because I expect nothing but their best. I really do. I think Vandy is going to be great tomorrow. But if we're going to wrap this around and conclude it with where we started, I think Tennessee needs to double down on Josh Heupel, because I think he's really good at this.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Whether you agreed or disagreed with us, we appreciate you being here. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year ahead. For Jay Greeson, I'm Chris Lee. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Have a great rest of your week and a safe holiday ahead. For Jay Greeson, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.